Today, we're going to show you around our van rebuild. We're calling it that because we were hired to rebuild this 2019 Ford Transit 250, and this is the 148-inch wheelbase. We don't live in this van, but we do live on the road in our 1987 Unimog, which we converted last year. So this van is the 5th build that we've done on our channel. So our clients bought this van already converted and lived in it for a year. That's where they discovered there were a lot of things that they wanted to change. The walls were too thick, making the van feel really narrow, and they really didn't like having a non-permanent bed in the back of the van that had to be converted every day. They also didn't have a vent fan, which is essential for ventilation in any of these builds. And that's where they hired us. Once we dug into it, we found a few downright unsafe parts of this build. It was not built for full-time living. The people that built this van were not professional builders. They were DIY, first-time builders. So there's a lot of mistakes that were made in the process of building that they've now hired us to come in and fix.
One of the main wires that's connecting a battery to another battery just pulled right out of the lug.
This is gonna make this whole van look completely different.
So of course it's gonna fall in.
This truly does feel like HGTV Van Build Edition.
It really does.
You can watch the full 2-part build series of everything we found and how we rebuilt it over on our channel. So that was the before. And now we're gonna show you the final product.
Starting right at the entry of the van, it's the first big improvement we made. Before, this counter went about another 6 inches, which made the entry a little bit narrow and a little bit just tight to get in and out. So we cut this back. We also changed the depth of this counter. It used to be really deep, which made it very claustrophobic in here. And we didn't actually lose any counter space. We actually added some with this flip top. With the previous counter being fixed to about this position at all times, we've really opened up the doorway and actually added a bit more counter space to work from. Another huge upgrade here is we have power, both AC and DC, so if you're working up front in the passenger seat, you have access to power. One last thing that we changed, this switch right here controls the DC to DC charger off the vehicle's alternator, so you can choose to run it when you want. Before, this switch was located underneath the bed, so one of them would have to crawl back there when they were starting up or turning off the vehicle to turn that switch off, lifting the bed up, reaching into a compartment, and just having to remember to do that every time. So I really wanted to get that out of that compartment and much more accessible. The reason we're calling this a van rebuild versus just a full-on build is there are a few things we didn't change. Like, we didn't change the ceiling or anything up here. We were working within our client's budget of what they wanted to spend to get it to a place they are happy with. Our biggest constraint is right here. The shower and this cabinet, this is original, so we had to kind of redesign and work around that. So everything from the shower back has been rebuilt or redesigned, but this all stayed the same here, the shower, the cabinet, the front, and we just had to work our design around that.
An emphasis of what we did with this rebuild was to reuse materials. So this entire kitchen, except for the countertop, is made from the wood of the old kitchen. We basically took everything, we made it more shallow because this countertop was really, really wide and you had no walking space in here. We reused drawers and door faces. Everything was basically repurposed except the countertops. Those are brand new, so we were able to cut and seal them really nicely with water locks so that they fit the new kitchen perfectly. This induction cooktop was in the old build, except it was on the opposite end of the kitchen. So now that it's over here by the door, you can open the door while you're cooking and just have more ventilation. On the end of the kitchen over here, we have storage. We also have a 3-drawer stack. Next to that is a Vitrifrigo fridge. This is a true DC refrigerator. They previously had an AC like dorm style refrigerator. So this is a really big upgrade for the power system. On the other end of the kitchen, of course, we have the sink. The faucet that they had was very oversized to the space, so we added one that was a little bit more appropriate and just fits the space better. Under this is the sink, so we have a nice cover on it so that it is usable counter space when you're not using the sink. This is a really deep sink for a build of this size, and the drain goes down to a handheld 7-gallon gray water tank. So you can dump that by hand, and it's just a little bit easier than having to go to a dump station every time you need to dump your gray water. Next to the sink, we have our control panel. Here we have an outlet, we have a voltage monitor for the batteries, and an inverter on-off switch. We also have a main switch panel here. So this controls the water pump and all of the strip lights that you see in the van. So previously this van had very little controls. There was one light switch for the main puck lights and one switch for the bathroom light. So now you have everything right here accessible on this panel. Above the kitchen, we have lots of overhead storage. So we did not make these cabinets. These existed in the previous build. However, they were tipped downward with the angle of the wall panels. So every time you would open the cabinet, whatever you had in there would likely just slide right out into your face. So while we kept the same cabinets, we did shim out the bottom, so now they are level and you can store things in there safely. Behind me is one of the biggest things that our clients wanted to change about this build. In these panel vans, it's very popular to do a booth bed conversion space in the back, and they discovered that they really didn't like it. Most people have a pretty strong preference on whether they want to convert their bed every day or not, and our clients decided that they did not. So this is a queen size bed. We've never done a queen size bed in any of our builds before, and this is a luxurious upgrade. We did have to cut the mattress down by about 6 inches to have it fit side to side, but you can see at the head and foot of the bed, the walls are actually recessed. I mentioned in the beginning of the tour that this van was built with really thick walls because it can be difficult to shape everything to the sides of these vans. There's lots of curves and indents, so that's one of the biggest things that we did, was cut into the walls on opposite sides and get them some width back so that they could put this mattress side to side. That saves a lot of room within the layout and gets you a really big, comfy bed in the back of the van. Underneath the bed on opposite sides of the van, we have the power system and the water system. For the water, there's a 30-gallon fresh water tank, as well as a 4-gallon AC water heater. And for the power system, there's 400 amp hours of lithium battery and a 3,000 watt inverter.
The next real personal request from our clients was they wanted a man cave. So I built this underneath the bed. Okay, actually they just wanted a little dog den. Our clients have a pretty good sized dog and they wanted her to have her own space. And I can tell you from experience, this is a pretty cozy space. The wall of this dog den gave us a chance to put a nice AC and DC distribution panel here. There were no AC breakers in here. There was 2 circuits wired directly into the inverter. So we've upgraded them to a nice AC breaker box. And we have our DC fuse panel over here. There's a lot more control now. There's multiple circuits. The water heater's on its own circuit. The heated floors are on its own circuit. Overall, it's just a lot nicer and it's relatively easy to access versus having to lift up a bed. As I was digging through this power system, it kind of got worse at every turn. There was a lot of dangerous mistakes, undersized wires, oversized fuse, things like that. Now it's been completely rebuilt. We were able to save all the really major expensive components like the inverter and the batteries, charge controller, those sorts of things. But I pretty much swapped all the wire out for nice, safe marine wire, which previously was solid wire, which you wouldn't want to do. And now it is safe and functioning a lot better with a lot more control.
This pull-out table is also something we've never designed before, and so it was really fun to make a table that pulls out from under the bed. We raised this bed significantly from the old design, and because we raised it so much, we realized that it added space to put a table on the face of the bed. Our clients also really wanted to prioritize a workspace because they work remotely, so having a table that can be out when you need it and fully stows away when you're done working is really convenient in a tiny space like this. I'm sitting on the newly built couch. This was half of the kitchen. It's where the sink was placed. So we removed all of that and built a nice seating area that also doubles as storage. The lid of the couch can open, and underneath you have a big space for additional storage.
One of the most basic things that needed to be fixed in this van was the floor. When we first came in here, these planks were cracking into the floor, and that was because the subfloor was done incorrectly and it really didn't support them. There were seams right along where the planks met and some of them had fallen in. We had to rip it up, tear it out, and start over. Basically, we just added a nice layer of support underneath and then put these brand new planks in. But along the way, we were able to add some nice heated floors, which is a really nice perk in a van. Anyone that's ever been in a van knows the floor is very cold. Heated floors, definitely recommend. The final part of this van build, we are at the back doors. Things have really changed here. We brought the bed up quite a bit, which opened so much storage underneath, as well as the storage compartments that hold your power and water systems. We now have much easier access to the power system underneath the bed. When I started into that power system, it was pretty unorganized and hard to get to. Now it's pretty easy to access and it's well lit so you can see what's happening in there. On this side, we have access to our water system, and another fun perk, we added an outdoor shower, which is really nice if you got to rinse off some dog paws or take an outdoor shower when it's warm out. And that wraps it up for this Ford Transit rebuild. To be honest,
We had no idea we would ever be converting a van, but this was a really fun project to take on. In the past, we've done a box van, a few shuttle buses, we've converted our Unimog, and now we can say we've also done one of these vans.
This was a unique challenge to work in a van that was already built, but I'm pretty happy with the results.
And again, if you want to see more of us converting this van, we have a mini build series over on our channel that will show you all the ins and outs of this van rebuild.
I think that wraps it up.
That does it.
All right, see you later. Hey, welcome to the man cave. All right, now the next thing our client really wanted was a man cave, so here it is. Actually, this is the doggy den, so they have a pretty good size.